Welcome to the Explainer. Operating an educational institution today really means sitting squarely at the intersection of business strategy and ethical responsibility. Today, we're tackling a critical compliance topic, managing marketing disclosures in the education sector. If you're operating an institution, particularly one that relies on student fees, the way you attract and enroll those students is heavily scrutinized. We're going to break down exactly what the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or SASB, requires when it comes to transparency in recruiting. So, are your recruiting practices fully compliant? It sounds like a simple yes or no, right? But when you dig into the regulatory landscape, the requirements are incredibly precise. The reality is, institutions face immense pressure to grow enrollment and boost revenue. But when that pressure translates into aggressive recruitment strategies, specifically spending huge sums on marketing while potentially misleading students, the regulatory hammer drops hard. Are you truly prepared for that level of scrutiny? Here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll cover the compliance risk, mandating pre-fee disclosures, implementing those disclosure policies, tracking legal monetary losses, and finally, reporting corrective actions. All right, let's dive into Section 1, the marketing compliance risk. The stakes here are absolutely massive. Using false or misleading advertisements to recruit students isn't just a PR nightmare. According to the standard, it can trigger significant financial penalties and, get this, the complete loss of eligibility for government-funded student loans. For a lot of institutions, that is an existential threat that can literally force you to close your doors. Aggressive marketing that prioritizes ad spend over actual instruction, that is a massive red flag for investors and regulators alike. Moving right along to Section 2, mandating pre-fee disclosures. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's lock in our definitions. A prospective student is simply someone considering your school but who isn't enrolled just yet. That pre-enrollment window is absolutely critical. Next up, key performance statistics. These are the performance metrics you are legally required to disclose. Think graduation rates, job placement rates, loan default rates, that sort of thing. The hard and fast rule here is that these key statistics must be provided to the prospective student before you collect a single fee from them. If we look at the SASB framework for marketing and recruiting practices, specifically Code SV Ed 270A.1, it is very clear. It demands a formal discussion of policies to ensure the disclosure of these exact statistics. You can't just casually claim you follow the law. You actually have to formally document the exact mechanisms that guarantee this data reaches prospective students on time. Which brings us to Section 3, implementing disclosure policies. The standard essentially outlines a three-step journey to build a really robust compliance mechanism. It starts broad with public dissemination, moves into one-on-one direct interactions, and culminates in signed acknowledgments, basically proving that the information actually landed with the student. So what do these mechanisms look like in practice? Well, they include publishing stats right on your website or training your staff to explicitly disclose metrics during admissions interviews. But the absolute gold standard here, that's requiring signed acknowledgments of receipt. This is a total game changer because it shifts your compliance posture from, hey, we told them, to, we have documented proof they understood the statistics before paying a dime. But wait, compliance doesn't stop at just having a policy on paper. The SASB standard explicitly states you must also discuss the outcomes and impacts of these disclosures. Regulators want to know, how does being radically transparent about your graduation rates impact your actual enrollment numbers? Does it force you to adjust your tuition prices, or maybe change your program offerings to ensure better job placement? They want to see that your transparency policies are actively driving positive business decisions. Okay, let's shift gears to Section 4, tracking legal monetary losses. Look, if your institution gets caught in the legal crosshairs over advertising, marketing, or mandatory disclosures, you have to report the financial damage. But proper compliance reporting hinges on exact technicalities. We really have to draw a hard line between what qualifies as a reportable monetary loss and what gets excluded. Mixing these up, yeah, that can trigger entirely new audit headaches, which nobody wants. The accounting distinction here is vital. On one hand, you must include all monetary liabilities paid to the opposing party. We're talking civil judgments, settlements, regulatory fines, and restitution. If you pay a penalty for misleading marketing, it gets reported. But on the other hand, you strictly exclude your own legal defense fees. So you report the fine itself, not the millions you might have spent on lawyers fighting that fine. Keeping those buckets separated is absolutely critical for accurate SASB reporting. Furthermore, you can't just report a naked dollar amount and move on. You've got to provide some context. Was this a deferred prosecution agreement? Did you get fined because of an accidental omission? Say, a recruiter just forgot a mandated form? Or was it a case of actively misleading advertising? You have to paint a clear, honest picture of exactly what went wrong behind the numbers. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Reporting Corrective Actions. The standard mandates that you demonstrate how your institution is taking accountability. You have to describe the corrective actions implemented in response to any legal proceedings or breaches. This isn't just about writing a check for a fine. It's about fixing the root cause. This means making real structural changes. You might need to overhaul your internal admissions processes, evaluate the third-party business partners running your marketing campaigns, or even implement better technology to ensure compliance checkpoints are literally never bypassed. Ultimately, the SASB standards are designed to create a baseline of trust, faithfully tracking and disclosing your marketing policies, your performance stats, and yes, even your legal missteps aligns your institution with global frameworks. It proves to investors, to governments, and most importantly to your prospective students that you are deeply committed to institutional transparency. And that transparency is what ultimately mitigates your long-term financial and reputational risk. I want to leave you with this final thought. Look closely at your current operations. If an auditor walked in tomorrow, is your institution fully prepared to report on these crucial compliance metrics today? Do you have ironclad proof that every single student receives key performance statistics before paying a fee? It's a tough question for sure, but answering it proactively is the key to sustainable, ethical growth in the education sector. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and keep learning.